I'm gonna need more alcohol. Okay people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today let's take a look at the Max Factory Figma SP-125 Space Invaders monster. Now this skews away from what I usually do on this channel, which is Star Wars and Marvel most of the time. And to be honest, I had forgotten I pre-ordered this, but I remember back when this was announced, I thought, oh, Space Invaders, that would be cool. And sometimes I like to get out of my comfort zone, you know? I haven't played Space Invaders since way back in the day. I had an Atari 2600 when they came out. And I remember seeing games like this at the arcade, but action figure-wise, I had to know. I was curious. Looking at the package, it's what we're used to with Figma. Fairly basic with some graphics, but the bottom is usually just plain, some logos, some numbers. Window, I don't know if it shows everything we get, if there's something hidden back here, but as is, it's pretty sparse. It's just the figure itself. And even that, with the plastic, the shadows, and then the figure itself being mostly black, you can't see a lot in there. Just the eyes. Ooh. On the side, a pretty promotional shot of the monster and then what we're used to when we see Space Invaders. On the back, promotional shots just showing different poses. I figure that's what you're gonna get out of this mostly. Again, down here with the numbers and the letters and the words and the warnings. Ages 15 and up, don't put them in your mouth. On the other side, another promotional shot. More words on the top. Same thing, different order. Second verse, same as the first. Anyway, let's get this open and see what's going on here. The package, for it just being the figure, or well, what looks to be just the figure, it's awful heavy. There's a weight to it that, I don't know, I'm thinking there's maybe something down here hiding. I said open. There isn't. There's a stand on the back and a stick. There's actual bubble wrap inside the blister here. What do we got? Figure, stick, stand. Lift the head, move stuff around. I wish I could read this thing. Oh, well, okay. Glow in the dark mode, normal mode. And I love that Figma always adds a Ziploc bag so you can keep all the accessories together. You can label it, keep it organized, but what am I keeping organized here? This stick, I'll just use it for something else though. I'm not griping. Yeah, see, they wanted to extra protect this thing. And getting it out of the package, messing around with it for a little bit, I'm left with two initial thoughts. First, it's an interesting, wacky design that has a hint of nostalgia to it. And B, what did I just spend money on? Like I said, the sculpt itself is interesting, at least from a texture point of view. It's based off the side of the vintage Space Invaders cabinet that had a couple of different designs, but most of the time it was this creature kind of blacked out, no detail to it with a red border. And I like that Figma took that basic design and added this flame, electricity, water, fur, whatever the hell this is. It definitely gives you something to look at if you dig just, you know, random wavy sculpting. With the eyes being part of the head, being part of the torso altogether, it limits the way you can play with it, but it also gives me an old Looney Tunes type vibe. And of course that texture travels down to the arms, to the hands. There's a little bit of bulk to it, but there's also a bit of uncomfortableness. Like if this was a dude in a suit, he would not be happy. Again, same thing on the back, and we can talk about this fur slash water slash electricity slash fire stuff all day. That's what it boils down to. The whole thing is covered in this texture. On the top, it has whatever this is flowing up and out, but there's also these ears that, I don't know, a bit monstrous, but also a bit kittenish. Like there's a scary factor and a cute factor at the same time. There's some fun, some frustration. It's a cool design, but I don't know if it needed to be a super articulated action figure. Because being Figma and they advertise smooth joints, the joints really are smooth. And on that fact alone, they stand out against the design a bit. A lot is hidden. Like this rubbery crotch piece hides all the articulation in the middle, but you start looking closer, you can see the knee joint just being flat, smooth, just like they say. They ain't lying. And on the back, where we usually see articulation anyway, it's just really big, smooth spots. But again, for as many joints as this figure has, it's just the knees, it's the elbows, it's the shoulders. Most of the other stuff itself isn't bad. You can see cuts for like the ball joint at the ankle, but it's hidden, you know, for the most part. If this were fur, it would be hanging down over a furry foot. You know, fur on top of fur. For paints, at first you think, oh, it's just a big black plastic blob, but then you start looking closer, there is a gray dry brush. It's very subtle, and you mostly notice it on the arms, not so much, well, down here on the legs too. It's so well done that your eye doesn't really pick it up. It's not as heavy on the torso and other parts though. But because of the design of the face / head / torso, you can't get a lot of dynamic shots because whenever you get into a pose, you can't look up. You know, there's no head. You can do pretty nice running shots, but he'll always be looking down. And speaking of articulation, working from the top down, we start at the shoulders. That is weird as hell to say. First of all, there is a pull-out joint. There's a bar that comes out of the torso out to the hinge and swivel of the shoulder. And that's because the sculpting just flows out. It gets in the way of that joint. So if you pull it out, you can get the arm straighter down or more in front of the monster. Like I said, there is a hinge on the end of that, comes up 90. That does rotate around, but you gotta work around the shoulder fire spikes. There is a bit of a swivel below that. You can bring it into about right there and out to about right there, but then it sticks for some reason, almost like that hole for that peg is shaped or something. I can't pull it out like I can the elbow, but that shows the pin for the swivel and then the hinge. With that, you can bring the arm up to about right there, swivels in and out. Notice that point on the back of the elbow. If you come in and straighten the arm too much, it pulls that pin out because it's the same distance. There's a cutout for the back of the elbow right there, but still, if you get rowdy, that's coming out. There's a ball joint at the wrist that gives you in and out, up and down, swivels around. The 4 fingers are each on swivel hinge swivels. You can't make a fist, but you can grip something, I guess, and then you can spread them out too. Mid-torso, there seems to be either a dumbbell joint or a ball joint. It feels like there is some weird movement there. But that can crunch forward a bit until it runs into itself, goes back. Bit of tilt up there, but that is all helped by another ball joint at the waist. So with those two together, you can crunch down, arc back, and then nice tilt. The rubber diaper piece isn't as soft as you would think it is, but you can see up in there, there's a T-bar or a Y-bar that comes down to 2 balls at the hip. Yeah, I said balls. Shush. And with that, the leg comes to there, but if you rotate a bit, get the sculpt out of the way of itself, keep forcing up, not quite 90, but better than it was. Rotate to bring it back down, bring it back out. Hey, that's not bad. Then the thigh rotates on that ball up top. Actually, a double knee, and watch this. Bam! Does that count? The foot isn't quite 2 ass, but he's touching. Boop. And then there's a ball joint at the foot that gets quite a bit of range, actually. Some forward, some back, some out, but a lot of in. Nice tilt for wide-legged stances. And because of the design of the foot, it's actually marked with an, well, that one's a backwards F, this one's a forwards F. That's to tell you that that is the front of the foot in case you rotate it or articulation or something. For accessories, there is this. And what this does is rotates the eyes from the painted white to the glow-in-the-dark plastic. And what you have to do there is this big old gap right here. Let's see, right there. I don't know how well you can see that, but there is a bar right there. That's the left eye bar. And where is the right eye? Right there. So you're supposed to take this tiny, pointy black stick and try to keep the light so you can see and dig around and try to hit those. What I've been doing, get yourself a flathead screwdriver. You have a lot more to work with. It is stronger. It's not going to bend on you. You're not going to miss it. There's more of the peg. And you can see the painted part kind of disappear as I rotate it around and exposing the glow-in-the-dark plastic. And honestly, as I'm doing this is more of a pain in the ass than it's worth, because is there really that much a difference? I can see wanting to take pictures with the wide eyes. They're a bit more bright, but I'm probably just going to leave them with the glow-in-the-dark part showing, because even then, turning off the lights, it's not the brightest glow, and they are small eyes. I don't know if this is, It's not worth it. I'm just gonna say it. Not worth it. But here is where I get disappointed, only because I built it up in my own head. I could have looked at the size. It's not Figma's fault, it's just me not looking at description, but to the top of the head, it is about 6 inches. Putting it next to our usual 1/12 scale figures like the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Stormtrooper or the Marvel Legends Black Panther, it seems a bit small. But again, that's not Figma's fault, that's just me thinking, oh, it's a big hulking monster. Because speaking of Hulk, when I pre-ordered this, I thought, well, if nothing else, maybe I could paint it up and have a Zax, but that's not gonna work. But it doesn't look too shabby next to my only other vintage video game type figure. This is the Union Creative Ghosts and Goblins Red Demon, and it's kind of a piece of shit. It wants to fall over all the time, but I use this for a Marvel Inferno Demon. Shouldn't have touched it. There we go. But thinking of it that way, maybe I'll use this as another creature behind magic, you know, from Limbo or something. Paint it up with some fire. Or maybe this is the start of a video game shelf. But at the end of the day, this is an awful expensive figure to just be wondering where I'm gonna put it. Like I said, I built the size up in my own head thinking it would be bigger, but who knows how big the Space Invader monster is actually supposed to be. It's not actually in the game, and those saucers look awful small. Maybe Space Invaders are tiny. Maybe that's why there's so many. They can't overpower you in size, it's sheer numbers. I definitely don't hate the figure. It's interesting and it's weird, you know, and I like that. But then I also look at my invoice and think, oh man, $80, $90? I don't know. And I think that's what it comes down to. If you're into crazy action figures that may not do everything you want them to do, you know, it's just weird. Are you into figures you don't care for? It's awful expensive to be experimenting with, like, well, you know, this dumbass. But if you're into Space Invaders or those arcade cabinets that's all the rage at Walmart lately, and you want something plasticky to put on it to, you know, complete the display, this may be what you're looking for. And it's my own fault for feeling disappointed that I can't customize this into a Hulk villain. So I can't count that against it. That was just my own preconceived notions. I'm not unhappy with this purchase, but I'm left with the feeling of, ooh, I could have put that money towards collections that I actually build up, that I actually display. The collections that are my bread and butter, instead of this just being a neat, wacky, one-off toy. So if you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus if you're interested in seeing videos early or just in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. Mostly, I'd like to see this in brown for fur with some highlights, or fire, or water. I want to see this in different colors.